It's a good variety.
Did you change out water cups to match mine?
I did. I couldn't. You got the aesthetic. You don't want it to stand out.
That's what I appreciate about you. It matters.
4, 3, 2, 1.
We gotta work on the problems. We gotta link up to solve them. We gotta keep on evolving. Gotta be side by side. Give it up. Gotta be side by side. Everyone. Gotta be side by side. Yeah. We gotta be side by side. Gotta be side by side. We gotta be side by side. Everyone. Gotta be side by side.
Thanks for tuning in to Talks with Tatum. This is Side by Side Podcast, and today we have our very first repeat customer. So, like, this is the rerun where you, like, change the channel, but maybe this is the rerun that you watch and you say, I got something different from this.
We're talking sequel here.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, maybe there was not an end to part 1, but it's a part 1, pause, reframe.
Yeah, part 1B.
Part 1B.
But I like the idea of a sequel.
Yeah.
Because maybe this could be one of the 5.
Maybe there's stuff that you didn't, that just didn't get done.
Sometimes the sequel's better than
My whole life
the original.
is trying to run a sequel, you know? Every location I go to next. Well, I sequel vacations. We were talking about cars. I basically rerun the car situation into a, same color, same size, 5 years newer.
I mean, that's a smart tactic if you think
That's the only way I can do
if
it.
you think in sequels and trilogies.
Right, trilogy.
This is only my first attempt at this thing.
Well,
I certainly have family members that have thought about marriage that way. But
children,
yeah.
mini me's running around out there.
Everyone's a new opportunity. I get that. But Jimmy Spear here. Thanks for taking the time.
Absolutely.
Again. I've been wrestling with a ton of stuff since the last time we spoke.
Let's talk about that.
But I've really been thinking about this idea of separation between the personal and ministry. And I've talked with a bunch of people. Mm-hmm. And we talked last time a little bit about this idea of churches caring about mental health and stuff now.
For sure.
But how do you create that boundary? Because as a person with a family, young kids, those stuff, I have an inclination to take my kid with me when I go to the church, to the office, these kind of things, and just very much kind of blend the activities of family life and just regular life with I might as well just swing by the church and do this or do that. And I have the bad habit of just probably working when I probably shouldn't. But how do you create that boundary?
Two different parts of that. Let's talk about working when you shouldn't. That's a whole different thing. However, taking the kid to church, how great is that?
It's
to have
the best.
Okay. So one great thing about ministry is the flexibility and the ability for it to be flexible to our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many people cannot take their children to work? Or even if they did, there's nowhere for them to hang out and play. They don't feel comfortable there. It's an imposition as other people. But for a kid to be raised in such a way, I'm familiar at church. The place is like my second home. I mean, I know the whole, because I've been there a lot. Now, too much. That's the other half of that is too much. But sure, why not? I've got so many colleagues that take their pets to work. I don't have any pets. I'm not bringing in a pet. I'm doing good to remember to bring my phone and my glasses and my wallet and my lunch and my computer cords. How many times do I have to go back to the house to pick something up? I forgot. So I don't do that. But a lot of colleagues, they're bringing the dog is here because the dog can't be separated from them for 4 minutes.
Sure,
and so
sure.
I understand all that. But that's great. That's great. And then the church people have that. They see that side of it, and I think that can be healthy.
So you like the idea of...
and that carries over into our time, too. I'm going to schedule my dentist for a Tuesday at 10 a.m. The church is okay with that. I guess. I don't ask them. But I also didn't ask them, how are we going to deal with me 3 nights a week at meetings?
That's true.
There's that. So 3 nights a week at meetings? Absolutely. 3 days a week I'm at a doctor appointment, the DMV, and whatever, right? Grocery shopping. So it just keeps fluctuating. There is no. I spend every week the drive time, or constantly thinking, how am I comping out that which I'm working and that part of life that I need for myself to maintain my spirit, to maintain my family, my social life, all those things. My yard.
Hot take, but I do think that some household things should be included in the ministerial package, because I don't have time to deal with my own lawn.
I don't either.
I don't have time always to do laundry, these other things.
No.
I mean, are we accounting
It's the
for
lawn that is the killer. You know
a
what I
lot of
should be
time.
doing right now? I should be home mowing my grass. I should have done that yesterday. I should have done the day before. But there was always some pressing ministry thing that was actually a whole lot more fun. And I'd much rather be here talking to you than going home and slogging through this yard for 2.5 hours. 3, but because I got to take a shower and come back to something else. So that's the problem. There's always that having to come back to. You pulled up. You said, "What about this neighborhood right here behind the church?" And I said, "I'd love to live in the neighborhood right behind the church." All our colleagues. Oh, don't let me. I don't want to live in a manse. I'm not going to live in that parsonage right there. I say, please give me the house next to the church, so I can just between things go home. I've got a meeting tonight. Good. I'm just going to walk over there, do the meeting, and be back home. Not have to have all this drive time. Not the idea. Where's my stuff? Leave the stuff at church. Leave home at home.
So you love the idea of the parsonage, but how long did it take you to get to that point?
Oh, I'm kind of weird. I don't know.
You weren't always
I
there.
wasn't always there, probably. Yeah. When I lived in Columbia, I was pretty good about not creating a home office until the pandemic, and then I had to turn
All
the guest
bets are
room
off,
into
yeah.
right. And I didn't create a home office. I would just leave it all at church. I'm going to go to church and work there. I'll work late. You and I are the crazy. We'll work at the church office till 11 or 12 o'clock at night. Our mothers are fearful for us being in a big building like that, late at night.
parking lot's too dark.
What are you doing there that late? I'm getting my work done, and when it's quiet and peaceful, I can do it. It's easier to do that for me than wrap it all up, take it home. When I get home, I'm not going to unpack it. I don't like my office in the basement. I'm not going to go down there and be creative. I'm going to go home and 10 o'clock at night watch TV. I'm not going to, read a book, do whatever, the laundry, and not work. So I don't know. I if I can leave everything at church and then just pop in and out to get it all done, that works for me.
But the idea of church members driving past your home,
Oh yeah, they'll always drive past.
the lawn.
I don't think
is the
they really
lawn
care that
done?
much.
You don't think they care?
No, if you let things really go, that's one thing. But no, they're not. They don't really. If they even know where you live. Now, I understand if if you live in the church's house next door, they're mowing the grass. That's their lawn. But even nearby, or I don't think they know where we live these
coffee.
days.
They're coming over for coffee every morning.
No, they won't.
I've heard stories. I've heard the
those
stories.
are the old stories. Those stories don't live anymore. These people wouldn't come in for anything. They don't even know where you are. They'll be shocked. Oh, really? You live right there? They don't know.
I like it. I do like the idea of being able to go home for a quick lunch and pop back in. But there's so much beauty in being able to shut it off. Like the further you kind of get away.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a drive. Like it's a little bit less than 30 minutes.
12 minutes. 12 and a half minutes is
That's
a
not
good
a-
check-in.
that's-
That's not enough.
Not a drive.
That's not a drive.
You don't have to, if you have to hit a big highway and you have to drive on that stretch for 20 or so minutes and you really have time to think about, I really need to learn social media better so that I can connect. You have time to really sit with
I
some
don't
of
want
these.
that much time to think about all those things because then I get home and I'm like, oh, why did I come home? I should have stayed there and kept working on all that stuff.
But then you really shut it off. So you pull in the driveway,
Yeah.
you get to
That's
the garage, you're done, right? And like
Yeah.
there's the separation of all of these miles. And it's like, I could work, but I left all that stuff at the office.
Yep.
But I do have the home office, and the kid goes to sleep, and then
Yeah.
I go to
And you're
work
back
for
to it.
4 hours.
The thing is just knowing that you need that time or knowing that you need to live next door or that you need to live a ways away or that you need to live in a different town.
Yeah.
Sometimes if I'm looking for a house, am I looking in this town 6 blocks away or the neighboring town that is much more financially advantageous, or the driving situation there, or it's more my kind of community.
Right.
Do I want to live there and then live in two different places? Like, is my life and community there, and I work up here and try and do church community, which is so supposedly and my thought, supposed to be a part of the community. Now I'm living two communities, and that's a lot to keep track. That's a lot of organizations and a lot of community to build. I'm to the point I just want to build it in one place.
Well, somebody told me, they said, I was at a church, and the church complaint was, if you spent as much time working in the church community as you did in the regular community, the church would be growing.
Right.
Okay. Maybe you need to be in a different community.
Maybe that was the same community. Yeah.
Interesting.
And those if we've ever been on a multi-staff, we always hear their thoughts on the other person, or our colleagues, or somebody at another church. Well, they never went into the community, or they did everything for the town but nothing for the church.
Yeah.
It might have been that they were doing all that for the town so the church's name could be in the town, and because nobody in the church was doing anything for the town, and they were representing them.
Yeah.
Any number of versions.
Yeah.
A little bit of both, probably.
So where's the mentorship to walk alongside? Because, I mean, you don't suddenly become a pastor and then you have this manual of here's how to handle all that.
Yeah,
Who's the person that's informing you of here's your disposition, here's your personality, these might be the best options for you,
Right.
not to just firmly plant yourself in a situation that's
Right.
not going to work.
Well, you got to find those mentors, right? I interned in places way back, and I guess in the first few years of ministry, watching colleagues that have been in a while, they're good, the bad. Their good habits, the bad habits. They never went home. Their family suffered, never seeing them, or they always took a certain day off, no matter what. One mentor took Thursday off, for example, just even the day off. For why Thursday? To me, that doesn't. It's just a day that stands alone. You can't put it with another day. You never get to get out, for an overnight or go anywhere. But he said that was just the best day for him. Everything else had gotten done. He still knew he had Friday to focus on some things for the weekend, but Thursday he could take the whole day off because there was always Friday to catch back up with things. If you take Friday, Saturday, it's hard to get out of there on Thursday afternoon because a lot still transpires on Friday. A lot hasn't been finished on other people's parts that need to go toward that Sunday, that the production and the all the details that go into a Sunday morning to get all the other people, everybody on board. I don't care how organized you are. You've got to have 1,000 staff meetings, and if you're working with a lot of part-time people, volunteers, this is their second or third gig, and they're going to be ready on Sunday morning. But you got to get all that information and all that work together by Thursday at noon. Guess who gets to go back in on Friday or Saturday to get the slides done?
So you just talked a couple people out of having Fridays off.
Well, but so here's the thing: you get Friday and Saturday. That's kind of nice. It all depends on the place, who you got working with you, and but sometimes you need 2 days together, Friday and Saturday. But here's the last one: Monday. The Monday.
Sell it.
I like Monday because whatever time you get off on Sunday, if you're off at noon, after lunch, after the evening activities at church, 7 or 8 o'clock. For me, there's just the rest that it is all done. All those words, all that energy, I'm exhausted. To get back up and be back on Monday morning, I can't do it. I'm going to struggle and not be able to focus on the next week that soon. Last week I went to a Festival of Homiletics up in Minneapolis and stopped in the middle of Iowa to see a colleague, seminary college friend. She's in ministry there, and we were talking about the schedule. And she says, "Oh, I work later on Sunday, so I can be ready for Monday." And she goes right into it, right into the week. Takes Friday off. She's a Friday. She'll take Friday off, but she's back on Monday morning, excited to do that.
I get that.
Again, it all depends.
I
have got to have Monday. By Tuesday morning, I'm ready to roll again.
I totally get
Monday,
it. Like,
I just gotta.
don't you like?
I gotta do my laundry, my mowing, and just breathe.
Did you come off the Sunday experience and you're just like, oh, this didn't go well. This didn't go well.
Sure.
This went really well. like with just
Think
the
through all of it.
creative
Right,
energy to be like,
right.
let's tackle Monday in a creative sense.
Possibly.
No interest for the administrative things
Yeah.
of Monday, but
Just the creative.
yeah.
That's a lot of discipline. To leave that day just for the creative without getting into the emails and
Well-
like, oh, what happened last week? Oh, all that's started back up again.
There's always
Yeah, it depends on the
muck.
support system you got probably.
it's the
else
joys,
is doing
the
well?
joys of full-time ministry.
It
You know,
is.
if, you,
It
if,
really is.
if you're me, you're
So I took-
you're
so-
working regardless.
So this week I took Tuesday off. I'm working today. I'm working Monday. There's a lot of things that were going to happen. I needed to, for some family things, take tomorrow off. And that's the nice flexibility that back what we began with, is that knowledge and the trust that they know that I'm going to take Tuesday off. I made them aware that I was off on Tuesday, but they know I'm working the rest of the week in its fullness in whatever capacity.
Okay.
But then we also have a meeting on Tuesday night, and they said, "But I thought you were off that day." You mean? I'm like, "I know.
Gotta go to the meeting,
I got to
though."
do both of those things. Thank you for the ability to go and do what I got to get done on Tuesday outside of church in my own life. I'm glad to come back for that meeting that evening. And that's fine because I got to get this stuff done, and I'm really glad to have the flexibility and not, be really beholden to some 9 to 5 kind of thing that doesn't allow some flexibility. So it's a toss up. I don't know.
Afternoons during the summertime, all afternoons off.
I don't know. I don't differentiate summer and winter too much.
I've seen that. I've seen
Yeah.
just the offices that close
Sure.
in the afternoons,
Sure,
and
I could see it.
then maybe you don't take a day during the week and you just have all afternoons.
I think if the evening stuff goes away, that's definitely and it possibly could. That Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday meetings that transpire.
Commit to Sunday evening.
Yeah, it
Sunday
really
afternoon
depends
meetings?
if I'm going to stay through the evening, 7, 8 o'clock for a meeting, a gathering, a study, what teaching opportunity, whatever. I've just got to be careful not to go in at 8 or 9 o'clock because I'll be there at 9 o'clock and then I'm at 12 hours. I needed to work 12 hours, but I don't have any energy for that 7 o'clock meeting if I've been there in the building the whole time or just processing it to that extent. So 10 to 7, 10 to 8. 8 to 4, 8 to 3, it just kind of depends on, but the afternoons can be a good, every single day is different, which is stressful, but a beautiful thing.
I mean,
What do you do?
you've
What do
got
you do?
you got your 4-hour stretch or 3-hour or whatever you do in the morning, and you eat lunch,
did it.
check out. If you got to do a lunch meeting, you
Right.
can do a lunch meeting or a
home after
lunch
that.
gathering.
Then you're done.
Do and you can mow your grass.
Exactly. That's going to be Wednesday.
So, 20 years of, you're at 20.
Yeah, this is 23. I noticed some friends were putting there, oh, I was ordained, blah, 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 years ago. We're in the nice 23 bracket here.
Oh my goodness. So that many years of ministry,
Year 2000.
and you've been stretching your legs the whole time. How do you continue to have the ability to shift? Because like from any given moment, you're in pastoral care mode, you're in administrative mode, you're in, I'm doing the bulletin, I'm doing the slides, I'm caretaking the facility, I'm having to go visit somebody elderly, I'm dealing with a teenager, I'm having to do social media, online stuff. Is it as quick as it used to be?
Yeah, just do it. You bring your change of clothes. You always got your change of clothes in the car. Keep your change of clothes in the car. You never know what's going to be next, but that's okay. I couldn't sit here all day long anyway,
Right.
so having some variety is helpful. That didn't answer the question.
I mean, it just like you're as nimble as you used to be.
No, I think I have a better grasp on the reality of what I need to in order to do Tuesday really well. If it's going to be a full day with an evening and I'm teaching something, then I know I need to take care of myself differently on Monday, especially after a Sunday, So that's where that Monday whether I'm off or I'm home studying or just taking care of some things, because I know Tuesday, the biggest energy. I think I'm better at realizing where my energy comes from and how much I need to do certain things, and allowing the rest of the schedule to feed those bigger things better. That all makes sense. But
Yeah. And so, are you a better scheduler because of that, or is it really just every single week doing a reset and looking ahead and saying where do I
just
need?
looking at the calendar to see where are the places that I'm gonna where am I gonna need to be. It's funny that the calendar has become, a lot of people have their calendar on their phone, their digital calendar of some sort, and then there's the paper calendar people. And there are some things that I have not gotten away from in this high tech world, and that's my paper calendar. And luckily, the church puts out the denomination's paper calendar every year, and I have found that to be just the right size of day and the week, and I have to look at the whole month. I've tried the ones where you've got all the day and you fill up all the parts of the day and you turn it over and there's tomorrow. What am I going to do tomorrow? I can't be flipping that many pages to find out what Friday's bringing, so I know what to do today. So Friday can either be less stressful or more laden with certain projects or rest or whatever. I've got to look at the whole thing so I can look at that whole week and the month. What's next week? Yikes, that's some bigger stuff's happening then, so I can adjust this week. So I have to look at a whole month at a time. It has to be on paper.
It's like anxiety for me. Like Jamila will bring up, like, oh, next week we have, and I can't.
You got to look at the whole month.
I can't go there yet. Like, let me cross some hurdles before we even talk about. I don't even want to see it because I'm not. Let's be honest. I'm not. Unless there's something that I have to like produce in advance, I'm not planning for what I'm doing next month, unless there's some event.
Well, it's like,
then sure I have to.
It's the events and the scheduled things.
But then don't you like you're reading the denominational book and you have like here's the all the scriptures for each week.
Yeah,
here's the thing.
That's helpful.
It just bogs me down. I'm like, oh yeah, I want to dive into this, and now I'm thinking about series and I'm thinking about all these other things instead of what I'm supposed to be thinking about. I'm like, oh, I
It's
didn't
just
even
reference material. I know that while I'm there, I can go back to my same calendar and say, oh yeah, there I've got them before me if I need them. Yeah. Go get that free calendar somewhere. I don't know if you're in your bank or your mechanic, and it's just a month. I just deal with the month on paper.
And so what do you do?
Highlighter, red, it can block things, and I block off a day. If I see the day I'm supposed to, here's the hard part about taking the day off. If I look at that and it's open, somebody says, "Oh, can we do such and such?" Book it. I'll write it in without. I've got to pause and think. Wait a minute, that's my day off. Is this work? Is this something that can be done another day? Let's book it another time.
Do you write the day? You write
the
day off?
I put a highlighter yellow through it, /mark through the day, so that way in my mind I can look. And this is just my little technique, right?
So a month ahead. So
the month
ahead you planned.
Yeah, I the things that are, if Saturdays are open already, I'm putting highlighters through them, so I won't just start booking things out of, oh, it's open, because I can't remember that. No, you're going to need that Friday, Saturday together, Jimmy. You're going to need those Saturdays because right now it's May. I'm not into boating season yet, but when June and July come along, I'll say, why did you book these things? Weddings, some, I don't know, whatever it is. Fun things, but potentially. But I've got to remember. No, I've got a priority already. I've got to mark that off so I can remember that is. So I'm looking at just a few days during the week that certain things have to be done because my 2 highlighted days off, I'm out of here.
Well, you're deep enough now in ministry, 23 years.
Yeah, deep enough
that there should be 2-3 months where you've got Friday and Saturday blocked off, and the occasional Monday.
Yeah, for sure. Right. But I know which weekends I can for sure.
But
get
that's not
2
going to
days.
stop you from agreeing to do some
No, that's
wedding,
right.
or it's not going to. It's not going to stop you from.
This is a problem. It does a little bit. The things that.
But you've already committed your 20. You've committed your 23 years of. I'm going to begrudgingly do that without respecting my.
No, we're better. We're better than that.
Now you're.
One wedding left for this season, for example. August, church member here. It's already marked off. So I already know that particular week, because that's going to be Friday, Saturday heavy. Love it. Great. Glad to do it. Monday is off for sure. It's already marked off that week.
Monday. And Tuesday.
Maybe Monday and part of Tuesday.
Well, that's a permanent marker.
Right.
Because you've
Exactly.
already cast off that week.
I have.
You've lost it.
I lost.
And how much time did you work on that wedding? That you're given a discount on because it's a church member.
Discount.
And
It's all it's all part of the deal.
but that's just extra time and extra energy. And
Weddings are time consuming.
I used to say I would gladly, and this was more just my dislike of the whole process. Less than marriage is beautiful, but the process is exhausting.
This is exhausting.
And I would rather do 1,000
funerals.
funerals before one wedding.
I know.
Because a funeral's, it's special. It's not necessarily that much of a shortage of time because you're still going to meet with the family multiple times, and if they've
Weddings take whole days. If it's
not
at 2
including
o'clock,
the
if it's at 2
premarital
o'clock on a
counseling.
Saturday, you got to open up an hour and a half ahead, hours before that.
What are you doing for hours before that?
Well, they have to do stuff. So if you're the opener, because the reality is you may be in charge of the key and the air conditioning and the lights. If not, you got to check in and make sure things are good. Too many things are left to no one, and then
You don't have a wedding committee here?
no, we don't do that many weddings. But or even if you do have that person, but still, what am I going to go and do today if I know I have to get ready and get myself ready to do this wedding at 2 o'clock in the afternoon?
Mow your grass.
Yeah, mow the grass. Maybe it's hard to It's hard to go off and really do other things if you've got this thing that's coming up. And that's me. I've too much time waiting for this thing to happen.
Iron your clothes again.
For sure.
Wow.
So, exactly. I don't seek weddings out to do because I know that they will take Fridays and Saturdays, and there's no amount of compensation for an outside wedding. One that's not in house here within our groups, right? Just hired. You're hired to do this. Don't hire me to do the wedding. Get somebody else because I value my Fridays, Saturdays too much.
What would you cave on for a Friday and Saturday in the summertime for?
What would I
Besides a wedding, a funeral of a
Oh, sure.
person.
Sure. A funeral. You've got to. That's the thing that doesn't get valued. You do it. That's what you give up. Some of those days that are marked off, you give it up. You're always available to whatever y'all need. Because I'm not going to be the biggest pain in planning this thing that people are grieving there. However, if they're messing around and just willy-nilly grabbing a day,
Right.
I will nurture say, this may be a better time for us to do that. Can we do that? And we work together on it. The funeral home's only going to do what they're going to do certain days. So is the church. And again, then I flex it out. I know I'm going to I gave up my days for this week because of this thing that went on all of a sudden. Next week, I'm going to, when there's some free openings, nothing's booked, that means it's my time and not just filling it with more work that has to be done. You got to manage it all the time.
Have you encountered butting heads about the accessibility piece of that? Because there is an assumption of accessibility for the minister, right?
Did they see my car here?
Yeah. Because they don't know. You've already been to the hospital to do visits. You've done all these things.
They don't know whether my car here means that I'm working or not, or whether when I'm away from here I'm working or not. It's a big trust thing. And you find out that some people don't trust ministers because they've been burned on it. They didn't know where the person was. They didn't know what they were doing. Then they find out they weren't doing anything. Then it takes 2 or 3 of us cycle 2 or 3 people through that the church can trust again with the schedule, with that freedom. But they have to know that when that funeral comes, you'll give it all up to do what you're called to do what you're supposed to be doing as a part of that relationship.
That was a surprising thing of, especially like when you come to a place that maybe they haven't had the pastoral care pieces that they've needed to have, and then you step in, there is this fear, this like anxiousness about Well, what's going to happen if there's, a member in the hospital or somebody's dying or there's a funeral, these kind of things. And stepping into those moments and showing up to the hospital at 5 o'clock in the morning and those different kinds of things. And they're like,
Yeah.
just
All of
like-
a sudden, they've realized that they can count on
yeah,
in all the times and places. And so then that the dialogue begins there about all the other time.
yeah.
But it takes a little while to get that established and for people to know that. And some of them will never know that. They're not that involved. They're not that invested. And they're not going to ask or care. But of the people that are seeking out, a quality work life for the pastor, I think they understand. Why would you?
I used to wonder why churches would ever open before 10:30, 11.
Right.
Because that's when everybody gets their business done. Mm-hmm. I mean, I do think the church office a little bit is kind of this catering environment to retirees,
Yeah.
people that want to get all their stuff done. If I got to run to the church and do this, that, or the other, I want to get it all done in the morning so I can have it all wrapped up. I can go eat lunch at home or
Take
go
that,
out to
and then you're off in the afternoon.
That could just be
exactly.
done. But the business of church rarely, I mean, you may have staff meetings and stuff in the morning, but that's just because that's the routine that we're
Right.
accustomed to. But people are,
We have adopted perhaps a routine that had outlived its usefulness for what church needs now in people's lives. And
you want to do afternoon stuff.
Yeah.
That frees your mornings up to, you can go meet with members, and if you got to do hospital rounds or you got to go nursing homes, you got to do coffee.
Well,
That's-
even just the creative piece that you mentioned earlier, I think, I sometimes will stop at, we've got two in the downtown here, quaint downtown. There's 2 coffee spots. If you can get a parking space as I'm coming in, I'll stop and get my coffee or something, to eat for breakfast. And I'll look around, all these people are working from there. And I think, I should be one of these guys. I should work from here, bring my laptop, and be in the place and have those conversations and find out what's going on. And then I think, but I need to. This is the only time of the day I'm going to check in with my office person, and I got to get back here and do that. But I'm curious how that coffee house office scene. How does that play out? One of these days I'm going to take advantage of that, and I'm off to come to the office earlier and do what I got to do here, and then go back to the coffee shop.
I mean, I think people would be
People are good with it.
people
They're
would
fine.
be open to the
Sure,
idea of even
sure.
just like a couple days a week that you have your
Yeah,
morning. And if you need to, hey, if you need to come see me, I'm gonna be at the coffee shop. and
yeah. That's
feel
where
free
they
to come
are.
visit
That's
and
where
have
they
whatever,
are.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, I used to love that when, ministry was day in and day out. I used to love, I used to go for a second workout in the morning time when nobody was in the gym, and
Yeah.
then pop over to the church before lunchtime.
Yeah.
Get some stuff done before.
If I think churches now, because they've been through ministers that didn't take care of themselves, if they know the job's getting done and you're taking care of yourself, and that means you're going to go to the gym in the morning because there's other stuff that's prioritized for the evening or afternoon when other people might be doing the gym, then do it. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Your personal reading, your either personally or for preparation for whatever's happening. If that needs to be done elsewhere, off site, so be it. At the coffee shop, in the gym, on your back porch. I think other people are doing that now too. More and more professional people.
Yeah.
So they understand that the variety is beneficial for the worker, and the pastor is a worker that has a unique schedule and ability to create life and works balance. So by all means. Yeah.
So what's the line there? Because we recognize that the church landscape is evolving and memberships are decreasing and the whole thing is changing. And so what's the line where we really just create this environment that's like pastor centric to, you just do whatever you need to do, and then we get less and less output from pastors. And less
Well,
and less,
that's right. This is the
because if your church is already declining and the
that's
whole
rub.
thing is,
they're riding it out. You're just riding it out. They've got to know that they better drive by both times. They better drive by in the morning and see if your car is there, and in the afternoon, and in the evening. Don't judge it by one of those three, because it'll definitely, the person that's there, make interfacing with other staff, making sure that things are taken care of on site or available for people to pop in, because there is always the pop-ins. And you begin to understand pretty quickly who's going to drop in the mornings, who's going to drop in, and who's going to phone call on the landline still, and make sure that those there was one week I've got a couple cars, and so sometimes I'll be in a pickup drop-off situation with the mechanic, or some sort.
Yeah.
So I park a car at church. It's easier to park at church, pick it up, drop it off, and they say, "Hey, boy, you were there late last night," and I have to think, "No, I wasn't. Oh, my car was at church." If I really wanted to do it, I could just leave a car at church all the time, and they'd think I was there all the time. But I'm not going to do that.
So that's too much.
That's just my
energy.
little. It's just kind of funny. Like, I wasn't, and I thought this could be the way out of the office, but it's not, because they're going to stop in. They're going to stop in. They're going to see the light
Right.
on.
But there's also like the new generation of like educating church members too, of like the new landscape of you've been active on Instagram and these other things. Well, you got to make a post, and the time and energy and all of these there's different ways of outputting that time.
Yep.
Now that's not just solely pent up and you sitting behind the desk and waiting for people to pop in and say hi.
Right.
And being able to mark those kind of things of like, oh yeah, all these things are happening, and wow, we're really working him hard, and not, well, he wasn't there when I popped by.
It's an overall presence.
Yeah.
If you're present on social media, they'll know it.
Yeah.
If you're present in the community, they're going to know it. If you're present in the office, at functions that are all the things that we do. I mean, some clergy people don't go to all the things that are at church. That's not a rule. Something, the church is open, an event happening, the clergy person has to be there. That's not a rule, but it's a little unspoken. Why weren't you? Wasn't that the priority, that big event, that how many people were there, and how much interaction could you've had with any of your people just because it was there in the place? I mean, you weren't in charge of it. It wasn't my event. I'm not leading that necessarily, but I am a part of the church, and I'm a part of this thing. I want to see this thing grow, and my presence to nurture it, just to show interest into somebody else's ministry or project at church, that goes a long way. And some people don't get that, and they only show up for their events. Good luck with that, but I don't think that's gonna.
I mean, that might
think
work
they're
at a a large staff.
That may work at
type
a
of
big church, and it
deal,
does
but-
apparently.
Well, yeah, it does.
We're not
if
at those.
If you're teaching, you're
Right.
the teaching, the executive
teaching,
pastor,
you're the
whatever.
executive pastor, yeah.
Must be nice.
Well, that's what the youth ministers find out. I mean, you can't take Fridays off, because that's when the lock-in is. You can't take off. How many week-long things are in the summer? That's a 7 to 8 day trip, camp, something or other. There were no days off. There was no weekend, and then you're back into the next. Then you really have to coordinate other days in and around, because and you're not seen either, because you're gone, but you're working.
Nobody's worried about the youth minister.
No, that's right. Exactly.
We haven't seen the youth
We haven't
minister in
seen
3 months.
What's his name
It's
again?
Summertime, right?
Does he work here?
Why is he always in shorts?
Why is he in shorts?
Yeah, that's been we're doing a sermon series on music stuff, and I've intentionally stripped out all of our traditional things. So like, I'm not preaching from the pulpit, I'm preaching from down center,
Yeah.
using a music stand. I've said casual dress. I said shorts when I first pushed it, and then there were some people that, encouraged the casual dress, and people have worn shorts and t-shirts and stuff. I don't wear shorts because I'm not that bold to preaching shorts, but just jeans and like a collared shirt, and really kind of decentralized some of the things, and it's been really interesting to see people just be comfortable with like.
I think they are.
Like,
if you
we're
look
just-
around enough,
yeah.
people are in shorts, and someone will say, "Oh, that's pretty casual." Elder at the table in shorts. It's funny. I I'm kind of dressed up for church kind of guy,
Yeah.
but people do, and I'd rather have them there. I'm glad that person is there, feels comfortable, and they're respectful of all that we are doing there. And I don't think if they're wearing shorts on Sunday in the summer, if it's there's too many other things that we can worry about than that.
I'm anxious. This series is really teaching. And I said, I'm going to teach, and I want you to be comfortable because we're going to teach.
Yeah.
Right. It's not just going to be. I'm not just going to be preaching. It's not going to be
Right,
happy go lucky.
right.
You're not going to be. It's not going to be rah rah. Like we're going to go there and teach, and I want you to be comfortable. But there's the piece of me that I really do. I go in my closet and I'm like, I miss you, ties. Like
Right.
there's that piece
Right.
of me. But it's kind of
But
nice.
it
for
is
a
kind of
season.
nice. This coming Sunday is the last Sunday for the robe in traditional worship. I'm just hot. I realized
Yeah.
this last Sunday. I am soaked under this thing. It's just too hot.
Yeah.
Everybody's in summer gear, and they're cold because the air conditioner's on. I'm in 4 layers, and I'm burning up. And so let's bring it back. Summer will be casual, but they know if it needs to not be, I'm ready for that. If a
Yeah.
funeral comes along, I'll be appropriately dressed.
You've
for it.
already demonstrated
established that.
the-
When fall comes and we need to do more formal things, we'll do it. But I'm kind of excited about that that option of just being a little cooler. And I probably won't. With you, I won't wear shorts, but there will be, shirt and tie, summer suit, something.
And I think that's
It's
a really
okay. Long
That's a
ago,
cool
when I was
thing.
in my seminary church, Chuck Bremley was the longtime senior minister there, and he'd wear a white robe, like a baptismal robe or something. I don't know where he
Yeah.
got this white robe, and it was lighter weight, and that's what he wore in the summertime. Because he was an older man. He needed to. This was a part of his, but he definitely wore a lighter weight. I mean, there was a shift to summertime, but I've observed other people as they have navigated that. And yeah, summer's just different.
Well, I've always been curious about I get the robing piece, but I've always been curious, apart from having the multiple services that you have to jump to, that the people that robe for the one service, why would you not just wear like some casual slacks? If it's summertime, you just wear like a tank top, or like just there's no need for you to be elaborately dressed underneath if you're not going to take the robe immediately off after and then do another service, or go lead that
right.
Sunday school without the robe, or you have the freedom to dress how you want to dress under the robe, unless you're fearful of it getting unzipped and then you being exposed in the t-shirt.
The problem is come on, Michael, the collar and the robe. I don't know. It's tricky if you don't have your collar and tie on in a robe.
I mean,
So-
women that robe
I
don't
know.
wear
And they don't like their and that's why many of our colleagues they will get different kinds of robes that fit differently. It's not that traditional. We're too far into this really traditional
Yeah.
robe, but it could be something different underneath. I take off the first service. I'm in a robe, tie, whatever. Second service, I may put on a coat. I may take the coat off. I may take off the tie and keep the coat. Shed them all, depending on the weather, depending on how I'm feeling, depending on how this shirt feels. Do I feel fat in this shirt?
That is a indicator. That's
You know?
definite
Yeah, I'm
jacket on
like,
for me.
I'm just not like I feel more comfortable in a coat or not. Or this is hey, I'm feeling good in this particular.
When does vested Jimmy come? That's I've been waiting for that.
The vest?
Yes, for you in a vest.
I've got some vests. I don't know how to incorporate them. I got to figure that out.
I mean, summertime, roll your sleeves up, be very like Southern lawyer,
In a vest?
Yes, in a
That's
vest.
too hot.
Is it hotter
Maybe
than?
not. Maybe it's summer is when I should.
I mean, linen, like a linen vest.
yeah.
I mean, just like off white.
Seersucker. I just got to bring some seersucker back.
I
just some
mean,
casual.
that's the thing.
Yeah.
So, music, you're in one of those weird situations at this congregation.
Two
You have
styles.
two different styles, two different services.
Mm-hmm.
How do you manage that piece in terms of structuring a service around these two different things? Because it's not as simple as this service we played a hymn here. Let's just let the contemporary band play a song in that spot, or is it that?
It is that. The two services have different liturgies, but it's a lot of the same elements, and they've designed it that way. That's how they want it. I've asked, coming to a new place, you want this still? Do you want something different? No, we like this. So sometimes it is just plugging in a different piece of music, different style of music, but there's still, a different formality, I think, to, the traditional service is 2 pages of bulletin. The contemporary is 1. It doesn't have as much. I don't know. I'm constantly thinking through that, and how much do we really need on paper if most of it's on the screen anyway? Because some of it has to do with what's on the screen or not. I think we lose a few things too. I mean, we lose if the contemporary service most of it's on the screen, we lose the sense of we've got different. We're in a praise section. We're in the word section. We're in a response to the word with thanksgiving. With our gifts, giving and receiving, and if all that is labeled there before you, like, I'm feeling the move. We've shifted from big praise and joyousness into the prayers and into hearing word, and then we've made a shift to communion, and now we're departing for a reason to do this thing. If none of those things are stated in front of us as we're kind of working through worship, and they're not stated publicly, and would you say that out loud? All right, everybody, we've now hit the word section of worship, almost as if somebody on the side is like, we're now entering the word section.
Narrator.
Here's our preacher. The MC narrator from behind, and now we're going to hear the text and the sermon. And next up is almost like a golf tournament, kind of just please be quieter, sit down for this. So the contemporary service doesn't, get some of those moves, but maybe they don't need them. I don't know. We're trying to navigate that a little bit, or maybe that's just too much of me putting too much of my interest into either one of those.
I mean, it sounds like you just made the pitch for the extended life of the bulletin. Because, frankly, there's countless churches. You look at the big box church or whatever. They've already stepped away from the bulletin piece.
Absolutely. It's a lot of time on something that isn't really used much.
Is there we'll go back to the music piece, but is there a style of transitioning between those sections of worship and preparing the heart and the spirit that doesn't involve the in front of you bulletin piece? Is there a way to do that doesn't feel narrator led?
That could be there. For me, sometimes I make a move in where I'm standing in the sanctuary. Am I down front? Am I behind the table? Am I in the pulpit? Am I up in the higher chancel area? If I've made a move and used a different tone of voice, or have podium in front of me, or not, a lot of it's just in our words. We now come to the table with da-da-da-da-da. Here's a song that's going to prepare us. We're going to use this song to prepare us for this move. So a lot of it has to be verbal. But then I'm the verbal one in that service. If you've got people coming in and out, which is great to have different leaders, they've got to be ready to do those transitions. The transitions, that's it. In the traditional service, the transitions are written down. People are following that piece of paper. They see the transitions without a word being spoken about it. The different worship service, maybe contemporary, whatever you want to call it, it's more ebbed and flowed between things. A worship leader then just has a different role.
And the informality that's also the shift in the music piece of it, because traditional music is very formal and structured.
All this number of verses, and then it's over.
Right.
Compared to we're singing this until we hit a height of praise, or we're done singing it, or who knows.
What do you think about the entry point of traditional music and this idea that I'm going to hand you a hymnal and I'm going to assume that you have the skills necessary to follow along with
the music? We have a lot of assumption.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think we could just put these hymnal words on the screen
Because who's reading the music anyway?
Yeah, who's reading the music? And then sometimes we'll have a different hymn that's kind of new to us. And I say that. I say, if you're someone who is going to follow along to the, like, for example, when we do a blended, combined, I don't even use those words. I'm sorry, I did it. Oh my gosh. Blended, no. Combined, no. I just call it one service. One service.
Yeah.
It stands alone. It is not the first one. It is not the second one. It is not contemporary. It is not traditional. It is one service.
Yeah,
and
unison
so sometimes elements of both of them come into it, and we just create one worship service for that day. Well, that's because we're baptizing kids that day. That's because we're Christmas Eve celebration. That's because it's Easter. So what do you need to do on Easter? Praise, prayer, all these elements. And so a little infusion of both. And so then if we're singing, we're doing both. We're singing on the hymnal, we're singing with the screen and the band, organ, choir. I mean, and so sometimes I'll say, we're going to put maybe the words to the big hymn on the screen. And it's one we all know,
Right.
the same one we've sang every Easter, the same one. So I'll say, the words will be up there, but they're on page such and such, and it's on the document too if they need to. But I'll even say it. If you're someone that wants to sing along, the music involved, here's how you can find it. And that, some people are going to do that or not. We don't put the notes on the screen.
Yeah.
It's too complicated. But I still want to give people that opportunity. Otherwise, we're going to lose a whole lot of music and a whole lot of ability. Kids are still in choir, aren't they, at school? Are they still learning how to sing? I feel like they are.
Not how to read music.
Not how to
notes,
read music, probably,
not.
yeah.
I mean, unless you get further in music.
Music major
you're
types,
just-
etc.
yeah.
But
I mean,
I don't know. We had two seventh graders who are in. They just came back from Solo Ensemble Festival. The competitions that the school sends them out on with their choirs, middle school. And I heard about this. I watched the moms are taking the videos. Wow,
they're great in the reading. Yeah.
she can really sing. He's really good at. He must have read that. I don't know how he sang that song, but he's good. Mm-hmm. How about if they sing with us at our mass choir? That is a kind of a combination. It's the music people from both services plus the 10 people in church that cannot commit to an every week singing choir band experience, but they have a great voice and they may want to sing once or twice a year. So they sing with us on those one services.
Yeah.
And, they'll come to 2 practices and then we'll sing this thing. And so these 2 seventh graders sang along. We were kind of blown away. They were strong singers. But I don't know. I've got to figure out, they got the music in front of them. Are they following it? I mean, I read music just to an extent for my part. I can look at the note and kind of remember where my voice goes for that. Yeah. I can't always say, was that a D or an E? If you say sing a D or E, let me see it. And then I can, I can kind of get it. So that kind of hybrid thing. But I think people are still able to do that with the hymnal or any music in front of them. The thing is, I need a different part to sing because my voice is lower. Mm-hmm. And the problem that I have in sing, I want to sing all the songs on a Sunday morning, but so many of them, the band led ones, when I don't have the bass clef and my part to sing, I can't sing those high. It's too much, and I can't sing it 10 times the same high. Mm-hmm. I'm out. I gotta stop.
And then to try to sing it an
painful.
octave down, it's so
and then it
low,
sounds
it's
off,
rough,
and then I'm too
it's-
low, and then I got to change it again.
Yeah.
Can I is there a way, and there is a way because it's been done for generations, to have all of the parts there, and that makes it so much fuller if I'm singing my bass part. And I kind of miss the melody on some songs, so I'll jump up to the melody. But
Well, and there's a difference to one of the tough components of, especially modern music. So you look at hymns. A lot of the people that were arranging those and writing those, not always necessarily in the key that's printed in the hymnal. So the hymnal are these collection of these songs, and the people that are putting the collections together are thinking about what are congregational what are congregational keys for these. And when you have these music groups that are leading, or musicians that are leading contemporary Christian music, and you can pick any key. Well, what keys do we tend to pick? We tend to pick keys that benefit and support the musician that's leading those things, as opposed to the congregation.
That strong, high voice.
So if you have a really great,
there it is. The rest of us are out here,
and so
not singing. We want to, but we We can't.
So that's another point of like
It is.
it's really important the keys that we choose to sing.
You know, the hymnals have taken care of that to some extent. We recently did a little hymnal change around here. That was, I try not to, I don't want to come in and just change everything. And they say, this new person they got rid of all our, well, we had to.
What did you shift to?
We shifted from the 1977 hymnal.
The red one?
Oh, yeah, this was I don't even want to speak its name. The 1970-something, early 70s hymnal, which is 50 years old.
Yeah.
We exchanged it for a 25-year-old hymnal, which is also so old. I mean, I want a new one, but there was, why? Well, because in those 25 years, there were a lot of hymns written that we've missed out on. So maybe those would be the thing that might enable us to worship differently. Okay, so that's one argument. The other argument is the key of some of these things.
Yeah. And the third argument of language and theology.
Oh yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, again, I had them all ready. I was like, this, all these reasons. But the key one, the key.
Big
they
difference.
have realized that Fanny Crosby wrote some hymn back in the she was singing so we can't sing that. And so I have them. Here's this hymn out of the two hymnals. Let's sing it. Da 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 da. Whoa, we can all sing it now.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Just
It's crazy. We don't think
worry
about like music as an access point, but like accessibility matters even in
Absolutely.
music, and that's cool that
if a hymn doesn't go well, it was hard to sing. There's some hymns in the hymnal, any hymnal I've never sung. I'm not going to sing. We are not going to sing.
600 songs are there.
Yeah, because they're not easy to sing by people who never sing this anywhere else except this moment. And that hymn or song comes along once every 6 to 10 weeks or twice a year. So we've kind of dumbed ourselves down to this, 25 tunes that we know, different words to them perhaps. Contemporary services, I think, have even made it even smaller. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we're singing something every 6 weeks. I want a little more variety there myself. Yeah. But then again, we have the ones we like too. Why haven't we sung such and such? Well, we did. We sang it 4 weeks ago. You weren't here that Sunday. Sorry, it doesn't come back around again until 6 months from now. Amazing Grace, or, whatever it might be.
People want their hymns.
The favorites, they do. And I say, you better come every Sunday because we're going to be singing something. And this goes for either service.
Yeah.
Any of it. We're singing them, but if you come to church a couple times, twice a month or twice every 6 weeks, you've missed out on 10 or 15 hymns. And I'm sorry that your favorites were probably in those weeks, and you're going to have to wait a year now. That's just me being petty about it. But that's the reality of as soon as somebody says, you don't sing, we don't sing. Oh, ho, 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 ho. Well, let's wait a minute here. Let's look at the list of everything we've sung. We keep track.
Wow.
We have a hymnal, that we write.
Right.
I learned
Last
this at the Columbia
dates,
Church.
Yeah,
that one hymnal, it's labeled, do not ever lose this hymnal, because we know the songs that we like to sing, the ones that we write in, they sung this terribly, don't ever sing this hymn again, it doesn't go well. And other ones we can see. Have we sung that lately? Actually, we just sang it 3 weeks ago. We forgot that we had sung it, or we haven't sung this in a year. Oh my, we've got to bring that one back. That's a favorite. Let's not forget that. Put the date in there. Write it. The one hymnal we wrote the dates in, so we can kind of keep track and just know that we need to be better at bringing some back around. It's not just in our memory. We can't remember all these songs.
Yeah.
We've got to keep a little bit database.
I'm doing this music sermon series, and it's really like hymn 1 week, contemporary song the next week.
Yeah.
And the sermon series title is God Hates Music, which is really produces a visceral
We're gonna have to tune into this. Right.
reaction. But this week's sermon was really about this idea that we're talking about a hymn, but there are these different types of people when you're singing a hymn in church. You have the people that are face planted in their hymnal. It's their favorite thing ever. They're having this worship moment.
That's where they worship.
But they're worshiping alone. They're having their own special worship experience. And then there's a person that's listening to the same song. They haven't touched the hymnal. They're standing there, and they're just listening to the words, contemplating, but they're also counting down the seconds until we're done singing this song and they can sit down. And then there's the person that's picked up the hymnal, and they're singing, but they don't really want to be singing that song. They're thinking about and anxiously awaiting the time that they get to sing the song that they really love. I really hope the next song we sing is Amazing Grace, right? But I'll sing this because we're going to get to sing the song that I want to sing.
Yeah.
And all those people are having their own separate worship.
And people don't sing in the world like they used to. I mean, this isn't a part of our culture that people sing,
Mm-hmm.
especially this particular music or these sets of music. Some of these folks are listening to this in the car all day long. Yeah, this is their favorite song, sure. Or this is what they've always sung at home. But when we think about 1 hour, 2 hours a week that we've focused musically into a very different world, it's a wonder we're singing any of this stuff.
But you're only singing two, 3, 4 hymns a week, right? Or songs
That's
a week.
not bad. It's not laborsome, but it's so different out of the other days of the week for them that
Do you think so, really?
yeah.
Like, you don't think people are like, they've got their Spotify, their Amazon
No,
Music,
that's
their
what I said.
Apple Music?
Some of the times they are listening to those, and that's the case. But
Well,
for
not
some
the
folks,
Christian music, but they're listening to they're singing along with pop
I
music
see.
on the
Okay.
radio.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
singing.
So they've
they're-
got music
they're
going,
thinking.
but it's this particular music.
It's not what they want to hear. They don't want to sing it.
Yeah.
And that changes when we think about music in that way and we really hyper focus on this is what I want to sing. We become focused on song selection and song style instead of this is my offering of praise to God.
Right.
It's not about you. Like you're
Right.
worshiping you because you're worried about you wanted to sing Amazing Grace.
Yeah.
And that was, they sang it last week and you didn't come last week. But
So that's it. That's the getting people on board
Mm-hmm.
to coming to be open to whatever the inspiration is that kind of leads that day, focuses the message, the songs and the message tie together. So whoever gets a message out of one or the other is getting the same the message
Exactly.
of the day, and that takes a lot of time. We sit here at this table with the 3 people. And we've got 2 hymnals open and the text before us and the themes, and we're trying to find things. And we always find something the other person has never heard of. I've never heard of that. I've never heard of that. I've never heard of that. How? Where have you been? And these are long-established church musicians. Where have you been? Well, we've all been in different places, and we're different generations. Whew, even picking hymns is unique. But as a result, we find some really, we work hard to make that theme and those. You're right. People, if they can be open to what might just come from this hymn that they're listening to only, singing out, or if they can just invest in that moment and see what God might do.
I really like
That's what we're trying to remind them.
I'd like the idea of like thinking through the church calendar and like seasons and like, maybe it's monthly, right? Maybe it's monthly and like thinking about, what are these songs that we can think of? Maybe it's 10 songs a month. Maybe it's 15 songs a month. Maybe it's 5 songs a month. And here's the playlist of these songs, be they hymns, be they contemporary songs, whatever. And like, hey, as a church, we're just going to ask, listen to these songs this month and familiarize yourself with these songs and kind of learn them. And maybe you love them.
They are
maybe you
outside
never
of
listen to them.
this hour here.
Yeah, maybe you never ever listen to them again after this month. But this month, this is what we're kind of going to chew on and meditate on. And maybe we'll sing some of them in worship. Maybe we won't sing any of them, but you'll be introduced to them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I love that because I know you love hymns. I know you
It's a
love.
good thing.
I love hymns too.
They've gotten a bad rap. No puns intended.
They've gotten a bad rap.
They've gotten a bad
who,
rap.
Who gave hymns a bad rap?
I
I'm
don't
curious.
know. All the people. That's a whole different podcast. Who gave hymns the bad rap of the hymns? Well, because people were choosing ones that didn't relate as much or were hard to sing or just had bad theology, and you think they didn't always make the moves that the church was making, and they got lost in that, or people were not really working on how to best use them. So that sometimes that happens.
Hot take. Hymns and their current construction. Okay, so can we acknowledge that the weak point of a lot of hymns is the idea that there's at least 1, often 2 verses that are substandard to the rest of the hymn?
No, I won't say that.
You won't say.
No, I think for the
there's a
most
drop-off?
part, that writer and there's put either 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 verses all together to tell the whole story of that hymn. And you've got the problem is people can't handle 5 verses, so they're going to be worn out. And I know enough about them; they're going to be, those 5 verses. They can't. So we missed several themes there. Sorry, we shortchanged you, but you wanted it that way. On the message.
That's your
that
take?
hymn. What's that?
You don't think, but okay. So,
I think that the hymn the whole thing has got the message that's. Now
we don't even have the
some
whole
verses
thing.
are easier to sing. We like them better. But that's the one we've gotten used to. But you've got to sing verse 3 and 4 if there's 4 to get the whole story.
But don't you think that, like, for a lot of these hymns, there was actually 5 verses and only 3 got included in the hymnal?
Oh, that could be, yeah. But that's not on us. That was on some council that had a lot of people on their backs to cut this thing down, I guess.
So you don't think there's any drop off?
Oh, some drop off.
I
But
think
that's not the intention.
You need the whole thing to tell the complete story.
Probably.
Even
Now, here's the hymnal shelf over there has got, bring out these 2. The Episcopalians, they will always do all 6 to 10 verses or something. And the disciples, we have our 3 to 4.
Yeah.
And then you find out there were all these great verses that we've been missing out on. Well, we just know that the people would have dropped off before the hymn verse that was going to be dropped.
all the Satan verses got left.
There
There's
was
the
some
verses that
theological maneuverings, but
yeah.
I don't
I think that's the point where I think that's the struggle point. Like the push, and I think the credit to contemporary songs
Mm-hmm.
that people credit is you got to have a good verse to start out a contemporary song because it's the first thing that people get. Just
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like in
yeah.
a hymn, you have to have a good first verse,
Mm-hmm.
or else you're never going to sing it. Got to have a chorus that's singable,
Chorus that's singable.
and then maybe you have
Right.
in a contemporary song, maybe you have a second verse. That's probably the weak point.
Yeah.
Maybe you have a bridge, but there's not so many other pieces.
Right.
You don't have to sing 3 more verses that have to meet the level of
Right.
the refrain
That is
or
a
the
different
first
pressure
verse.
point. Boy, that chorus is going to
You can just sing it
really good
over
to
and
sing that
over and
chorus
over again.
again.
Or you can just stop. You can just be a 2-minute.
I would
contemporary
rather
song.
stop than sometimes than beat it to death.
That's the negative.
yeah.
There's so much newness in a hymn, right?
Right, because that next one, I've got to be singing this, and I think, wow, that said something. I needed to get to verse 3 because verse 1 and 2 set me up for verse 3 to sing that part of it.
and there's a built-in manipulation in a hymn. In the last refrain and the last verse, in the sense of there's an alternate harmony, there's additional musicality pieces. You can feel it.
You out.
You can feel it, and the last verse is always something. We've brought it down, and we've made it very like your sins are
We
on the
killed
cross.
Jesus here.
All of
We're
these
gonna-
things, but
we're
we're gonna
raise him in the last one.
There's hope in the last verse
there is.
always. But that's the thing I love about all of the music, right? Like there's so many pluses in all the different places.
Yeah.
And there's an accessibility point for everybody,
Right.
and all of it, if you're
Right.
willing to just
if you're willing, and I think we still are, and people still
Yeah.
are, if they are given the tools, and either through the musicians that are accompanying, the practice that we may give it. We may need to sing something 2 weeks in a row. A what? Yeah, because it was completely new to us, and we butchered it last week. It was just because we didn't know it. This week, and now it's not so hard to sing, so we're enjoying that song better. And now we're taking in the words because we're not so busy trying to put words into new words and a new tune into our liking. And second or third week, we are singing it 3 weeks in a row. But by the third week, it might be on our list that we'll want to reuse.
and like you're being present when you're not focused on learning a song,
You're right.
or even like
Absolutely.
really just reading the song. Like you can be present in what the song is saying and what it's doing to your spirit.
Yeah. A lot of, I'm always appreciative of the musicians that when they know a new one's coming up, they're going to work that into some other piece of music. That tune is already in the service earlier.
You've heard it. And
We've already like, oh, yeah, I can sing that. You know why? Because they've already played it 3 times. I didn't know that that's what we were doing here, but that's what we did. Or the week before, it was done in some way. And then so it's just kind of before them.
Didn't mean for this to be exposing the secrets of
the
church
secrets
music.
of
So,
music.
how do we overcome bad music in church? Or do we?
I think we need to make sure we're singing more or presenting music more, making sure music is a part of the worship life or the church's life, and then overcoming bad music. We got to decide what's bad and be in agreement on that. Part of it is having some professional musicians to help us with that. Otherwise, we're just grabbing stuff here or there that we thought we liked. We liked to hear it on the radio. We liked, we got it on Spotify, wherever it came through. But singing, we're not able to reproduce that in a way that makes it good in this particular setting. So we got to do the music that is easily reproducible if we're getting it from somewhere beyond hymnal, piano, organ, right? Band, and practice. Having people care enough about it to choose things that are good quality, that sound good. Some clergy people will open up the hymnal. They know that this is the theme for the day. Here's the text. Oh, here's a hymn that follows that. They don't know how the hymn goes.
Yeah.
They don't know if people have sung it, can't sing it. It's got this weird, and then it's lost because the church was forced to sing that song for these words, but it's bad to them. It's bad music to them, and they're not. So again, how many pages of whatever book that you're singing out of or whatever set are good for that congregation and that group of people.
Yeah. Well, there's
Not
lots
forcing them, but inviting them into new things, but yet doing it well.
because you can do good music bad, unfortunately.
Exactly.
But if we accept that music serves as the functionality of music and worship is to create this community, right? This idea of I forget who said it. I think Paul Westermeyer talks about this idea of when we join in singing as one and our voices join as one, we're not only singing, but we're also writing the story of our congregation. And we're reinforcing it with song, because that is something that we do in unison. But then music also serves to be this introduction into vulnerability, into the presence of God, into that space. And it's the reason why we gather and we sing in those moments to push us into worship and to praise, but we also use music to transition into those contemplative moments, into these other things. But when music starts to become a distraction, because we either do it poorly, we make poor song selections, whatever it is,
wrong
it's just
spot.
it can be done poorly, and then it turns people off of the whole thing.
So when I'm working on the one service and integrating the two styles, and that's the hardest part, is making sure that we're not distracted by going from an organ accompanied song to a drum, bass, guitar accompanied song, that people might not be able to make that leap that quickly. There's got to be something in between, so that way it naturally goes into whichever one that is. Nobody's winning here. We're just blending it in such a way that there's not a whiplash effect, just to make sure everybody's cared for. And maybe, I found that maybe that means that one style needs to lead off, and the other style takes care of some prayer, communion time in the middle, and another style, sends us out, or and the movement of people. If everybody's running to their instruments for just this back and forth, we've kind of lost it. You're already up there. Let's sing a couple of these while we're in this mode, while we're in this particular style, and do okay with that, knowing that the other one is coming too, and give an equal time.
Can we just a cappella everything, and then?
So in a couple of weeks, part of our band is not. They're out of town. That's a Sunday that a lot of the band is gone. What are we going to do with that? It would have been a good time to maybe do one worship service, but it's too disjointed to try and figure that schedule-wise. So I think we're going to do piano, or the keyboardist is going to be there either on keyboard, on piano, and to just help everybody not have anxiety. Like, this isn't weird. This isn't in a difficult Sunday. This is not a down Sunday. This is a good and different opportunity to sing. We're here, and here it is. We're going to hear ourselves sing. I don't think we hear ourselves sing in that particular service as much because there is so much volume coming out of the instruments and the singers, because there's 5 things coming at us, and we can kind of hear ourselves in a few people, but if the place isn't packed, we're not hearing we're not participating in it in the same way. And this may be the one Sunday when we're going to hear ourselves sing because it's one singer and a piano. And that is not a wrong way to do it. It's just a different way. We're going to find out. Ask me in a month how that went. But that's today and tomorrow. I'm trying to figure out what are those songs that I've got to work with the musician to say, what songs could we present, and that maybe this crowd has been missing because they've been doing these contemporary songs, but they still, sometimes they'll say, when we did a one service, I forgot that I love that hymn. That doesn't mean we have to sing it with an organ. Maybe we're singing it with a piano. That's as contemporary as any. I mean, it's too many labels around things, but maybe on that particular day, we're just going to sing differently. We're going to hear ourselves differently. And that right there will be the event, the worship moment that we weren't expecting.
I like that. Stripping away some barriers.
I'm terrified. I'm not terrified, but I've not observed that here. So we'll see if people say, that was good. Let's do some variety like that, or it'll be fine. It'll be fine, but you just got to pick the right ones, the right 4.
There you go. And once again, all the pressure falls back on selecting the right things in the right places.
It's got to be the right set list.
Got to be perfect. Got to be perfect. Got to be perfect until it isn't, and then it's
okay. It's
okay.
Because you know what, we're coming back next week. We got a whole
Sunday's
new,
always coming.
set in the next week.
Yeah. Okay.
You didn't like it so much? We got a group of people that are planning this. We'd love to put you on it. You know.
Yeah. Step forward and
come help out.
Offer some ideas.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like contemporary Christian music hasn't been around since the late 60s. I mean, it's very contemporary at this point.
It is.
I mean, it was guitar-led back then. I'm not sure that that much has changed.
It perhaps hasn't.
Wow.
Sorry, you were going to say something.
No, I just find it really interesting watching churches go through some different things. How, like, our identity really gets attached to the components of worship and not the worship itself sometimes. And I think it's a natural thing, right? Like, it's just who we kind of are as people, right? Like, we get these labels kind of put on us, like, you're the guy that drives these old cars that are
labels. It's all labels.
Yeah, they're highway vehicles, but that's not your identity. I mean, it's not your identity.
No.
It's a piece of something that you like.
Right.
So why does what we do in worship or what we really like in worship have to become, this is how we worship? You know what I mean? So it's really good to have those opportunities where you can have a unison service together, where you can do that, contemporary service differently or
I've got
traditional
people
service
that
differently.
go to either service, and sometimes it depends. They like a 9 o'clock or they like a 10:30 because the timing of the day, and they appreciate both of them enough that it's about coming to worship.
Yeah.
And today they're going to pick the other one for other reasons, but they're glad to be in church, in worship, and the style, that's just kind of a bonus that they get to do something that they didn't do as often, right? And they're okay with that. I appreciate that, because then they realize that this one particular place has a broader view than they maybe realized if they're only in one.
Yeah, and perspective matters, especially in the life of church.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how many people have only ever experienced worship in one narrow capacity.
Yeah.
And this is my understanding of...
It's the only one. I only sat in this pew, and I only did this style, and only at this particular church. I can't even imagine. Can you imagine being in one church your entire life?
Terrifying.
I went to one other time with my cousin's wedding, and we stayed over for Sunday, or I don't know. I don't want them to go anywhere else, but when you're on vacation, grab a spot at a very different church and see how they did it. Let me know, because we need some refreshment on some stuff here. If you found something that's great, bring it back. Yeah.
I like it. Okay, so one piece of your identity though that we have to touch on is you're what I would call a part of boating people. Can you describe what that even is? What is that?
The boating people?
The boating people.
I love water. It's not because I'm a fantastic swimmer necessarily, and I don't fish. But there is something that is serene about water. Like if I will, little lake here or there, whatever, if I'm driving by, all of a sudden it's just, anxiety, just whatever happens in this body, in the mind and spirit, that just changes when something about the blue, the water, the expanse, the variety of wave, the reflection of the sky, it speaks to me. It doesn't speak to everybody, but so there's that. It's always been. It's one of those things that, my parents were into, and I am too. It just carried over, and I'm glad. Some people leave it behind. They just, it didn't happen with their generation, but I'm a generational boater.
I'm worried that Gibson he's definitely outdoor people, but I'm worried that he might be a boating person because
You're worried that he might be?
I'm worried because water, there's something about, and maybe just a 3-year-old thing, but he cannot resist water no matter what, no matter where we are.
I saw some video. One of our friends, like one of our camp friends, posted something of her little boy on their farm running through I think it was Sarah up in Mexico. Her little boy running through this puddle. He will go find this puddle and he will stomp in it and just plow through this puddle, because it's completely a different element that you don't get anywhere else. Maybe, I don't know. It's not like a bath. It's different than a bathtub. The lake, the pool, all this. I don't know.
You can't see the bottom.
It's refreshing. It's beautiful. It feels different to us. You can't see the bottom. You're right on some things.
So
So you're gonna have to bring him up to the river and
get
him out there on the river. But here's the thing: you got life jackets. We got life jackets of all sizes. Put him in. He's good. Completely safe.
That's how they're supposed to learn. That's how I learned how to swim. You just get thrown in the water, and maybe you make it out, maybe you don't.
Oh my gosh! Terrifying.
No,
terrifying.
Just kidding. That's
put him in a life jacket. Then he just splashes around. Don't give him. I mean, it doesn't take long. The niece and nephew, they were, kind of new to when they were old enough to bring onto the boat, and we were careful with them and everything. It is their most favorite thing in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, when are we going? When are we going to go up there? And are we going to go on the motorboat? We never called it a motorboat in our lives, but somehow this is what. Are we going to go on the motorboat? And are we going to go to the sandbar? And are we going to do these things because they love it so much? Just the plane, the water, the sand, the very different. It's just different than home. It's different than home. It's vacation. It's rest, relaxation. Dad is different when he's on the river.
Yeah, that's
Dad
true.
is different on the river. We do things differently, because our phones are not in our hands, because we're far away from any other connection. We're doing this, and I think that's probably what. I was just telling somebody at lunch today about. We were talking about the river and what's great about it, and I'm like, well, because you just go out for 3 to 4 hours, and you're out there to do that. You may take a nap. You may read a book. You may talk to the whole time. You may be drinking. You may not be. You may be floating, landed, driving the whole time. Whatever it is, and it's just it's something very different that can be good for any number of reasons. I think. I mean, when we've boated together, it's because we've had just the right group of people along for the day. At the end of the summer, we'd all work together hard on some camp situation, mission situation, and we have some stories to share, some laughter, some people, and just be our best selves out there in a different way. And I still grab a hold of that, and hopefully other people come along to do it too. So I learned that from my dad was a boater. My mother was terrified of water, and she white-knuckled it for years when the water was rough, and she always had her life jacket on, even when we were safely in a place where she didn't necessarily have to, but she respected the water enough, and then she learned how to swim, but she knows how to swim, but she will still wear a life jacket, but she's not afraid anymore, and she loves the river now. But it took a little while, and they instilled that in us, and
How is that grounding and that understanding of yourself now served to allow you to do all of this?
Oh, it's just the away thing. I know that certain parts of the year, certain seasons, I'm going to go and have a different viewpoint someplace else. And after I'm gone for 2 days, day or day and night on the water, I come back home with I'm just different. I'm chill in some different way, hopefully, right? I mean, yeah, there's a lot of driving and packing and all the stuff that has to go along with it in the preparation. It's a different yard to take care of and another thing, a boat to clean and maintain. But it's even funny that I don't mind scrubbing the boat because I'm in the dock and the water is beautiful and everybody on the dock is chill and it's just a different vibe there. That work doesn't feel like work. I get to go and work and play at the same time, and that just really can be. It's good. Everybody's got their own version of that. Golf, running, whatever, yard perfection. So as a result, I have no flowers in my yard. I'm not maintaining any flower beds. The grass gets mowed.
Smart.
That's it. Because on those days that I'm not working in the good weather, I've got a different priority.
Well, I appreciate you teaching me that model and giving me that understanding of things, because I've taken so many more camping trips that I would have never given myself the excuse to have taken before.
And why do you do that? Because you
just the same thing. It's just completely unplugging. It's
completely unplugging.
Being under the stars. It's being immersed
Breathing
in nature, and
differently.
the air is different.
Yeah,
And as a result, you're different.
And your people see that, and your people are different.
Yeah, you get to be present, and there's fire, and there's always water, and it's just
The food is different. The sleeping is all the elements of the usual all take a different turn. And if we talk to anybody about memories in their families and their times, that's what they'll say. Oh, when we took this trip, when we were away doing this, they don't recall every weekend at home on Oak Tree Lane that was exactly the same every single weekend. There was nothing wrong with them. They were all good weekends. Wasn't in the long-term memory bank of us, of our people, of our whatever. It was the shenanigans that you got into, the adventure you got into, the problems. The car broke down. We had this flat tire where there was, we lost our way. We made a detour, whatever. What the snow, impeded us from crossing that mountain. But we did all that together, and I don't know. Those stories are just the best. Whether you're with your family or youth group on an adventure across America. And it's just they're too good to not grab a hold of with good people.
Yeah, people matter, experiences matter.
Yeah, for sure.
I love it. Well, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
As always.
Likewise.
Your
Always.
insight, your wisdom.
Always good banter and fodder for the next day.
All of it. And to each of you, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you learned some things. Maybe you agree with Jimmy about hymns and the fact that every single word is great and the stories are super.
Listen, there are some verse 3s I'll never sing. I'm taking that out. It's a terrible verse. I'm sorry, we're not singing it.
There you go. There you go. He said it.
I'm guilty.
On tape. But thanks for tuning in, and I hope that you continue to grow and evolve, and that you are not afraid to take the time and the space that you need to unplug, spend time with people that you care about, and have those experiences that you can connect with yourself, connect with God, and continue to be the best version of yourself. But thanks for tuning in.
We gotta work on the problems. We gotta link up to solve them. We gotta keep on evolving. Gotta be side by side. Give it up. Gotta be side by side. Everyone. Gotta be side by side. Yeah. We gotta be side by side. Gotta be side by side. We gotta be side by side.
Hold me on that hymn thing.
There are lots of.
It's complicated. Listen, there are some verse 3. I mean, we'll read through them. I'm like, ooh, let's not sing that verse 3. That's horrible. That one doesn't even sound good. That's not even easy to say. You're right. I mean, but at the same time, there are some. Well, we've just shortchanged the whole thing because it said so much during.
Well, you know, I have, through really understanding hymnody, I have completely changed my perspective of hymns to some degree. Like, there are a lot of hymns that I didn't really appreciate, just because, you know, I'm a music person first anyway, so, like, tunes and stuff
Kind of been a
matter.
bad tune. Put a different tune
Yeah,
to it.
but, like, the theology and all the components of it might be great. And so just being willing to look at it in a different lens and not make it about myself.
Yeah.
That's our biggest fault. We make everything about ourselves.
That's